Hello, this is Sam Gerrans from samgerrans.com. Today is Wednesday, April the 12th, 2023, and today the subject is, can having two partners help you beat depression? Now, if that's not a clickbait title, I don't know what is. Actually, what we're doing is, we're not trying to sort of spread this kind of filth around, but what we're trying to do is understand the propaganda quotient of it. And today we're going to be looking at an article from The Independent, and I do rather pick on The Independent, as people who are regulars on my channel will understand or appreciate. And the reason is because it's not behind a firewall, and it's fairly typical of what you get in what I would call the libtard media. And what it's really about is about spinning up your mind, men's and women's, but often women's, in order to get them to accept what I would call the emotional or propaganda payload. And the reason why this is happening is because the owners of this matrix are designing what they want next, and the way they do it is they break you down, and they break down your attachment to whatever allegiances you would have had, and certainly if not your parents, then your grandparents would have had, in order to atomize you, to make you a useful idiot, actually. Because if you don't know, the way it works is that communism 1.0 didn't really work very well. And the reason is that once people have got a packet of Pringles and a plasma screen and a six-pack of beer, the workers don't care anymore. Well, they care a bit. They care about themselves. And this is the crucial point. So when they came out to roll out the next part of Marxism, they decided what they would do is concentrate on what people really care about. And what people really care about is, funnily enough, themselves. And that's where identity politics comes from. So you split up society, you atomize it, and you get it into all these little fighting factions where everybody's has an identity, and this identity is the thing that they really care about. What they want really is that they want everything to stay the same but get better, and to have exactly what they want with no effort or consequences. That's it, solipsism. And they do rather concentrate on women, which is why I concentrate on women to some extent in this type of talk, of really trying to analyze delusion and the reasons for it. Not because I'm against women, I'm not against women at all. It's because so much of the propaganda is aimed at women. And if you don't believe me, go into any convenience store, or as they call them in England, or used to call them newsagents, and just look at the magazines on the shelf. They're nearly all directed at women, and there's a reason for that. It's because they know that women will buy new stuff, and that stuff includes ideas. Now, I've come across an article, I haven't read it, I had quickly sort of looked to see how long it was, what the title was, but we're going to read it together. I'm sure it's going to be highly uplifting, and it's called, let's see if we can find it, here we are, Influencer claims that having two partners help to beat depression. Well, there you are, that's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Help to beat depression. Influencer. Now, when we talk about influencer, that's an interesting word, influencer. An influencer, I suppose, influencer is somebody who can attract attention and convey ideas to other people. And the word influencer somewhat means that this person has some sort of credibility. If they have lots of followers, lots of, let's say they're all, philosophy PhDs, the people who are following her, but probably they're not. So, but the idea that lots of people following you makes you valuable, I suppose, in this new currency, and it is a form of currency. Anyway, let's see what this genius has got to say for themselves. A Brazilian social media star, claims she beat depression by having two partners. And of course, I haven't read this, but I think we all know where this is going. This is going to be spinning up your mind to make you think that, well, I feel a bit under the weather as well. Perhaps what I need is another couple of partners. An influencer has claimed she beat depression by having two partners. Larry Ingrid, known as Larissa, says she is even open to the idea of adding a third. Well, I mean, at least she's consistent in her philosophy. So yes, she was depressed. I wonder why she was depressed. Perhaps she was depressed because she'd been influenced by other people like her. And let's face it, no generation has ever been through the kind of mental gymnastics that our generation has been through. I mean, it was bad enough for my parents' generation. I was born in 1967, so I grew up through the 1970s. My parents, that generation, the baby boomer generation, was the first generation whose minds were completely spun up by media. And it was the Beatles. The Beatles really were that spearheaded that. I don't mean they understood it themselves, although I do think John Lennon, toward the end of his life, did understand how he'd been used. And that generation had absolutely no firewall against this torrent of propaganda. And so, in some ways, my generation and today's generation, we do have more. We're more inured to it insofar as we understand. We understand, a bit like advertising. You know, when an advertisement says this is going to change your life, you do know it's not going to change your life. We know this, so we are a little bit more experienced, but it still does work, and it works particularly effectively upon women. Men tend to be more conservative. Men tend to be less friendly. I'm talking about proper men now. I'm not talking about beta males. I'm talking about actual men. You know, we tend to have our own view and kind of stick with it and fight against the trends. Women, not so much. They self-reference within their group, and so this is aimed at them. Let's see what else it's got to say. The 27-year-old met her first partner, Italo Silva, 25, 8 years ago, but she started a relationship with her former neighbour. I'm afraid I can't pronounce that first name. Joa Victor, 18, last year. Just reading between the lines, I am kind of filling in some of the details here, but clearly Italo was out at work and she saw the unpronounceable chap's, I don't know what he was doing, cleaning the pool next door or something, and she found some reason, I expect, to either go and visit him or have him come and visit her. And quite clearly, you know, she has the morals of an alley cat. So that's how that went. And today, the trio live together under the same roof. Well, I expect it's very expensive, keeping two houses on the go. She shares a son with Italo and a baby daughter with Joao. And both men raise the kids as if they were their own. There you are. This is what they want for you. There's no morality left, none whatsoever. So, and what this is doing is presenting this as if this was perfectly normal, because, as I've said before, you could present exactly the same fact, you know, in all kinds of different ways. But here, so far, there's no moral content. But let's see if we can find some. As I say, I haven't read this before. Larry, who lives with her partners in Fortaleza, Brazil, used to have depression, but not anymore. It's miswritten anymore, but who cares about grammar? Well, according to whom did she have depression? According to her, is she a qualified medical expert? I don't know. Maybe she is. She doesn't strike me as somebody who has those particular qualifications, but who knows? But anyway, she found solace and a solution. Let's find out more about that, shall we? She says it's great to have two men washing the dishes and cleaning the house for her. You should look up my last video about women say that men don't do anything, and then compare with this one. This is what they want. They don't want you. They don't want actual men. They want men who are a kind of adjunct to women's ever-changing list of requirements. And again, this is nothing against women. People say, you're a misogynist. I'm not a misogynist. I spend more of my resources go on supporting women than on anything else. And that's true, I think, for most men. So it's nothing to do with that. But I wouldn't let this person cross the threshold of my flat. But you know, so far there's no moral quotient. She's got two sort of toy boys washing the dishes and cleaning the house for her. She said they have also helped her with her mental health issues. During an interview on the Saliga VM show on the channel TV Verdes Mares, Larry said, I don't have depression anymore. Okay, well, at this point, they have made it now, I think, 2 or 3 times. She claims to have had depression. She claims that depression has now lifted. She claims apparently that she was able to define what depression was and the absence of it. And she claims that the solution to her problem problem of depression was taking on sleeping with the neighbour and then convincing her husband or partner, whichever it is, to allow him to move in. You see, now, obviously, a lot of women are suffering from depression. I would claim one of the reasons they're suffering depression is because their natural, normal, female, womanly instincts are being perverted out of all recognition by media. So that would be one reason. But hey, we've got a solution. Let's spin up your mind some more. I don't have time to be depressed anymore. They are my quote-unquote husbands. So here we are. Let's have a look. Here's one of them. And here's the other one. Well, they look like a couple of highly intellectual and extremely moral individuals, don't they? Who could possibly pass up at that sort of opportunity? Let's see what else she's got to say. According to the influencer, her relationship with Italo became, quote-unquote, open when he suggested they should have fun with other romantic partners. Don't you just hate this word fun? Fun, there isn't anything that can't be justified by more fun or some fun. What is fun? Well, I suppose fun is a sort of bland, nondescript enjoyment based upon absence of thinking. I suppose it's a combination of amusement, entertainment, and distraction. Perhaps that's what fun is. Well, that's just precisely the kinds of things you'd want people to be experiencing if you were, let's say, taking over this society and destroying it. You want everybody to be having fun. She accepted Italo's proposal and soon got involved with Joa Victor. Let's just go. I can't work out which one of these is which. I mean, they seem to be pretty interchangeable to me, but they don't, either of them look, I mean, just on first blush, I could be wrong. I mean, sometimes you can't judge a book by its cover, but I think probably in this case we sort of can. Anyway, let's carry on with what they've got to say. I've known Joa since I was a child. He used to live next door to my mum, but he left, and I remained good friends with his mother. When he came back, this handsome guy wanted to kiss me, so we kissed, and here we are today. It was bigger than all of us. Oh, I see. So she's not taking any responsibility for herself. That's how unique, how original. It was bigger than all of us. Oh, well, that's the answer then, isn't it? It was just too big, and there you are. She's now living with these two, I don't know, these two sort of young men. Joa said he was initially skeptical about getting involved with a woman who already had a partner, but agreed after discussing the matter with her and Italo. How very reasonable. So if you discuss it, that's all perfectly fine. Oh, there you are. Here she is. Goodness me. I see. Oh, well, I think we're just going to skip over the rest of this. I mean, she's obviously demonstrating her intellectual attributes. He stated, quote, we both liked her, so we entered into agreement. We're all going to stay together. Really, I'll give it 6 months, maybe a year. That's just me. But then I'm old enough to have had a bit of life experience and be skeptical. I do tend to feel that Joa or Italo or even this Larry, whatever her face is, they're going to be running off with other people soon, I should imagine, because I would imagine that the depression's coming back. It was really love. I've always liked her since I was young. Okay, love. Well, love is another one of these justifying words, isn't it? Love. What is love? I mean, nobody. It's like democracy. Nobody ever kind of sits down and defines it. What do you mean by it? I mean, obviously the Greeks have got 3 words which we use as love. But what do we mean by love? I suppose that we mean, again, it's something attached to fun, isn't it? It's like fun, but with a lust quotient, sort of overlapping one corner of it. This is what people mean by love. I mean, obviously there are all kinds of other types of love. Love for one's country, love for one's people, love for one's religion, love for one's history, love for all kinds of things. Love. There are many different types of love. Love of one's friends. But what they mean here, I don't think there are any of those sorts of love. No, this is something which I do think is rather than being an attachment, is more of a diversion. But we'll see how it goes. I already had this idea of being with her, but she made it clear that wouldn't happen. As I wanted to stay with her regardless, I accepted. I see. Well, these are kind of simps, aren't they? Simps. I did an interview recently with Manosphere. You look it up down below, and he sees simps as being the problem. And I have to say, there's something to that. That simps by simp, what we mean, I suppose, is a kind of beta male that allows women to set the agenda and lets them push them around. and he sees them as primarily the scourge of the earth. I hadn't quite seen it in that way, but I'm coming round to his point of view, I have to say. Joa, who is the father of Larry's youngest daughter, admitted that his family had a tough time accepting the relationship. Well, he doesn't look to me like the kind of person who cares too much what his family thinks. I think he looks to me like the kind of person who cares a lot more what his TikTok fans think, I would imagine. He said, "It was complicated for my family, but over time they saw that it wasn't an arrangement from out of this world and ended up accepting it," end quote. Ergo, you should accept it too. No, more than that, what you should do is embrace it and celebrate it. No, more than that, what you should do is practice this as well. This is how it always works. It did exactly the same thing with the homosexualization agenda. First of all, it was just, it's complicated to understand, but we don't want to do it, but okay, we accept it. And then, oh, no, that's not going to be enough. Next, you're going to have to celebrate it. And if you don't celebrate it quite hard enough, you're going to lose your job. Next stage is, we're going to force your children to do it, and if you don't like it, you're some kind of bigot. Wonder if that's going to happen here. Here they are, enjoying their company together. Italo, who has a 6-year-old child with Larry, can you imagine being one of the children in this relationship with these grown-up infants? It's with their need for online approbation and confirmation, etc. Can you imagine growing up? That's your parent. One day, this poor child, these poor children are going to be adults too. I mean, physically, I don't suppose they'll ever actually progress in any other sense. Italo, who has a 6-year-old child with Larry, said there is often jealousy between the two men when one of them is with her. No, really, you do surprise me. He admitted it still goes on today, but we don't fight. When we feel jealous, we talk about it and it's resolved. Oh, well, I mean, obviously they must have read an awful lot of Freud and Jung, and here we are, they're having group therapy sessions which are resolving all their issues. This is part of the new religion, isn't it? We discuss it like adults, but they're not adults. They never grew up. These are children. Italo also said that he considers Larry's daughter with Joe as his own and even bears a tattoo with their names along with his sons. I went to a British comprehensive school. This is kind of the way people acted when they were sort of 12 or 13 in the kind of ghastly schools I was unfortunate enough to attend. Meanwhile, Larry suspects that her two fellas, it's interesting, fellas, they're not men and they're not even fellows spelt correctly. They're fellas with an A, which is a way of demeaning their masculinity and turning them into some sort of adjuncts to her as the center of this family, which is utterly unnatural, as anybody watching this would understand. But they're presenting this in a way to acclimatize you to it, to normalize you to it, because next is your turn, you see. Meanwhile, Larry suspects that her two fellas may occasionally stray outside of the relationship. Well, I would take that as a given, wouldn't you? Given what their actions to date have been, but would never accept another woman joining the fold. I see. Well, I expect we'll find a few articles at some point where that will change. However, she admitted that a third man could be an option. Well, there you are. You see, just in case she gets more depressed, she can fend off that depression with yet another man and more degeneracy. And I'm sure she'll be back with another interview to tell you all about it and how you can implement this and destroy your own life the same way. Larry, who has around 550,000 TikTok fans and 380,000 Instagram followers, regularly shares content of her unusual family as well as her singing career. So she's singing while she's spinning up the minds of your daughters to turn them into these kind of menage a trois prostitutes. Well, there you are. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed that. I currently upload to Odyssey, Rumble, YouTube and Substack, so please like, share and subscribe on all platforms. It's free to do, but a valuable way of giving back. Go to samgerrans.com and drop your email in the box to subscribe to my Substack newsletter and get all content delivered to your inbox. I back up my mailing list so that if big tech cancels me, we still have options. I work outside the mainstream and have no corporate sponsorship. If you value what I do, you can help keep the lights on at samgerrans.com. substack.com/contribute, or upgrade to a paid subscription on my Substack to access my more detailed work as well as comment, Substack being where I read all feedback. I continue to make my legacy projects available free. Summaries and links are at samgerrans.com/books. Finally, I post news, thoughts and announcements to my Telegram channel at t.me/samgerrans. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.